Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. All right, we got a couple of questions already. TV ratings guy asked us, "Hi, Vince. Can you share your experience studying for the LSAT, including how many times you took it and your experience applying for law school? Thank you." Sure. LSAT was not particularly challenging at the time that I took it. I believe it's gotten harder since I took it. But don't quote me on that. I think the scoring has skewed quite a bit. I went down to my local Barnes & Noble, bought an LSAT prep book. Probably did 8 to 10 hours total prep work, familiarizing myself with the questions, that kind of thing, you know. And foolishly, I went on a date the night before I took my LSAT. That was not a wise decision. That was a young Vince maneuver, but date was lovely preschool teacher, if I recall. Very, very good person. And took the LSAT once, exactly. The more I talk, the more my cough will lighten up. And yeah, took it once, got the score I needed. I think I underkicked my coverage a little bit in terms of applying to law schools. Could have gone to a better law school with equal money. I think I had scholarships. I was very much chasing scholarships, and the law school that I selected was like a solid tier 2 law school when I selected it, but it dropped to solid tier 3 like immediately through no fault of my own. I would claim. My university that I went to, my undergraduate, was not particularly well suited to getting people into law school. They churned out more accountants, FBI hopefuls, and law enforcement teachers. It was a different kind of school. They really scrambled to there's some university, there's some undergraduate support required, not required, but helpful in getting into law school. Excuse me. So they didn't really understand any of that. There was no, like, they were like, we're gonna control your references. I was like, well, you really know how to do that, so like maybe don't do that. And they're like, nope, we've decided we're going to start because there's 2 people applying to law school this year from our undergraduate, and we're going to get it right. Both she and I, the other person applying to law school, who I'm still friendly with to this day, we're like, yeah, you're not inspiring confidence. Thank you for your efforts, but this is the first time you're doing this. Maybe let us handle it and you can watch, type of thing. And they were like, nope, we've taken it over. And they like produced a reference that was not entirely flattering for me. And I was like, hey, why did you go through all the work of producing a reference that in it says I didn't always go to class? And they're like, oh, because we got to be honest. And I was like, yeah, but you're just doing me a disservice. Like, I'd be better off without this reference. Why are you like demanding that this be the reference process when I have lots of great references? And when we both know the reason I didn't go to class a lot is because I worked so much in undergrad. And they're like, nope, this is your reference. You must turn it in. I'm like, all right, thanks for nothing, guys. So that was my experience pretty much. All right, next question. YouTube user Rolando Rivas says, enjoyable day, everyone. And to you, Rolando. Hi, Vince. Dealing with an arbitration case between my union and employer for wrongful termination and violating the labor agreement. Can I file a lawsuit before the ruling? If you have a viable claim, sure. Oh, you're in Georgia. And any colleagues who I can reference? No, I'm sorry. I can't reference you to anybody in Georgia, but I will be rooting for your success. And we do have that evaluate an employment attorney playlist that could be useful if you're looking for good counsel. Okay, YouTube. Whoa. YouTube user by his grace says, thank you, V, for taking the time on your day off to be here with us. Very kind of you by his grace. Thank you for taking the time on your day off to be here with us as well. YouTube user Marvel Rivals King Godsu. King Godsu. Very similar to the word Gosu, meaning skilled in Korean, popular of video game fame. Good afternoon. I have my first meeting with MCAD coming up in September. What can I expect from it? Not much. Like an interview style. Brown Cat Eye 61 says, Happy Independence Day, everybody. Happy Independence Day to you. All right, we've got 20 concurrents, but only 5 likes in the channel. Remember, the likes are how people find our channel through the algorithm. It's really the only way. The Incredible Boom Boom says, Afternoon, Vince. Yes, it's me again. What can non-attorneys do to help fight the fight against employers that violate employment and labor law? I realized I have a passion for fighting this. Does it go on? Oh, and thank you for doing a live on a holiday. Well, of course, I'm happy to do live. So the best way to fight employers is to help people know their rights. And that would, I think, mean disseminating information. Obviously, I think these videos are great information, so share the channel. But also, like, if somebody's talking about an employment law topic, just send them a website with the actual information. Because a lot of people will sit around the lunch table at work and just say things that aren't true, like all the time. Like I once had I had an employee, great guy, very successful actor, and he was going and auditioning while he worked for us. Got some great roles in like Percy Jackson, stuff like that. But he marched up to me. He was like, Hey, you're not paying us right. I was like, I don't believe that's true. We are a law firm of employment attorneys, and we pay for a very expensive payroll service. But what's the problem? Let's figure it out. And he was like, Well, I have to be getting holidays paid, even though I'm not working. No, that's not true. We're in New York State, and you're an hourly employee, and days you don't work, you don't get paid. That's the vibe. At least it was at the time. And he's just like, You're wrong. It's like, okay. Can you show me something? Well, so-and-so said, okay. So-and-so is not an attorney, not an employment attorney, does not work for an employment law firm. That just the person on the floor that you eat lunch with. But if so-and-so has sourcing, I'm happy to review it. I want to pay you everything you're owed. And this is kind of a notable conversation because we treat you so well. So I'm shocked by this conversation, but okay. Right. And they go back, they put their heads together. They use the Google because they're intelligent young lads. And they come back and they're like, Oops, sorry. Like, okay, no worries. You get yours. Not a problem. Like you got to ask, and I'm happy to answer the question. So not a problem, but giving people the actual information instead of setting them up to like be a little ridiculous like that, hugely helpful. All right, who's next? Drew Kyle Dunn says, Hey Vincent, I have been waiting to talk the point. I need your insight. Okay, $1 billion company, irrelevant. Furnished a position statement saying I never filed any complaint. However, I kept it. All right to sue. Yeah, sounds like a good. I mean, listen, I don't know anything about the other claim, but certainly that part sounds useful. Oh, Incredible Boom Boom goes on. I feel too old at 36 to make a career change. Do you have any ideas or suggestions to make us normies can help you at all? I'll just say 36 is not too old to go to law school. at all. I have many, many hyper successful classmates who were OWLs, owls, older, wiser law students is what they call them. And I will tell you, they do better than the youngins like me. I was pretty young. I think I went straight from undergrad to law school, which is not that common. Not, I mean, it's common, but it's not the most common. A lot of people work first. Excuse me. YouTube user ho 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 says, "Hey, good afternoon, Vince. Happy 4th. What if the employer?" What if the employer tells me you're done, basically fires me, and then tricks me to sign a resignation paper without me knowing, and then lies and said they didn't fire me? So you're gonna have to. Oh, also I have audio recordings of them firing me. Yeah, you're just gonna have to go to unemployment hearing if you want unemployment. Excuse me. Play the audio of them firing you. Excuse me. All right. What we got? Chat jumped ahead on me. By his grace says, the judge ruled in my favor to not dismiss my case with prejudice. Great. Amazing. After her ruling, the legal counsel told the judge, I can't believe you're going to litigate this case like this. Was this stupid? I mean, I think that's kind of a dumb thing to say to a judge. I would not be so flippant with a judge, frankly, and I am largely considered to be one of the more familiar with, and, like I act a little familiar, friendly with the judges. People sometimes cringe a little bit at my back and forth, but I think they're being foolish. I think it makes sense to have a personality with judges. That being said, I wouldn't say to a judge, I can't believe you're going to make me litigate this. That ain't it. Brown Cat Eyes 61 says, do you have any videos about depositions? I have an upcoming deposition. Yes, we do. We have a video about preparation for depositions. I highly recommend it. Excuse me. And the Incredible Boom Boom says, everybody like this video. Please do. It does help us. We have 23 concurrent viewers and 17 likes. Drew Keel Dunn says, the EEOC investigator asked, did I want to consider a monetary settlement and how much? Because I specifically asked him to ask for proof of the female being more qualified. To this day, they haven't. Great. I would suggest that you make a monetary demand for settlement. Choose Compassion, the greatest moderator in the land, says, hit the like button. It's free. Thank you, Choose Compassion. Welcome aboard. Marvel Rivals King Gatsu said, I believe the meeting is with both parties, not just me with MCAT. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you might be setting a schedule. YouTube user Russell Brand, if it's likely, I'm going to have to litigate my discrimination and retaliation employment case, but I prefer to settle for a fair amount instead of file. Should I make the EEOC filing as detailed? Yes. If you want to set as detailed and legally supported professional as possible, is that giving the party too much information? No, listen, if you want a settlement in the EEOC, go hard at the EEOC. I agree with that logic. YouTube user By His Grace says, there are 4 employee discrimination lawsuits against the same employer. What is the percentage of them settling our cases without going to trial? Do you think they would even want to litigate them? So, I mean, for good, solid employment discrimination cases, we settle more than 98% of ours. I don't know your situations. I don't know the strength of the case. I don't know who's representing you. I don't know, there's a lot I don't know, but pretty high rate of settlement. Drew Keel Nunn says, I have filed the suit and current employees contacted me about the same behavior. One is a potential witness in my already going case. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. YouTube user Russell Brand. Chat jumped on me. YouTube user Russell Brand says, detailed and legally supported professional as possible. Oh, you're right. Okay, I already read that. Music Underground. What to do if your attorney is just a lowball offer accepting kind of guy? Just fire him or have a talk with him. Depends. Can he or she do the job? If they can, and you can have like a come to Jesus talk with them, like, hey, this isn't going to cut it. We're not going to do this. I need you to like put in the work, and you believe they're going to do that for you, then stick it out. Great. If not, you might need to move on. All right. Oh, the Incredible Boom Boom says, Rolando, in Georgia, check out Radford Scott. I found them respectable. Joe Mixon seems like a fighter and a good listener as well. Eleanor Atwood or Cheryl Legare, they're all Atlanta attorneys. I can't vouch for any of them, but Incredible Boom Boom says they're good. Viral Shedding Zombie. Most U.S. law schools have a bachelor's as a prereq for admission. Accurate. Lisa Marie, 670... 6726 Elisa Maria 6726 says, if your employer wants to settle before you file and they request an NDA, but your complaint also names individual defendants, does this mean you can no longer go after the individuals as well? Well, the NDA doesn't, but the settlement agreement might. You gotta read the terms of the settlement agreement and see who you're settling with. It will specifically list the claims that you are releasing, so pay attention to that. YouTube user Josiah Horton. When I started a job back in October, during that time, I was being paid under New York minimum wage. I live in Pennsylvania. I worked in New York. Is that legal? If you're working in New York, you got to be paid in compliance with the laws of New York. So if you're working in New York and getting paid less than the New York minimum wage, you probably have a minimum wage claim. Music Underground said, why is there no good California employee lawyers? I think there are many good lawyers in California. Some of the most famous employment attorneys of all time operate in California. Gloria Allred certainly had some trouble in the media lately, but she's the GOAT of our industry. I mean, she was the biggest name in our industry for 30 years, 40 years. And I mean, you've got a lot of really good options in California, more than anywhere else. I would say California as a whole and New York City are the two biggest hubs of employment attorneys in this country. YouTube user Drew Keel Dunn says, I have the FOIA file where the investigator says the HR rep was deemed to be biased and the process lacked transparency. I feel that my discrimination claim pled. I feel that my discrimination claim pled. I don't understand what you're saying. I think that's a useful piece of evidence. Rolando Rivas says, can I sue everyone involved in my grievance hearing individually if you have claims against them, as well as the labor relations? Evidence is clearly stated in the labor agreement. Thank you, the Incredible Boom Boom. I most certainly will. Okay. So sounds like they're talking to each other. Telemundo 9283 says, hey, Vince, you talked a bit about nonprofits last time, but most have insurance. They claim they have no money, but they also say their COO only handles $2 to $12 million companies. Yeah. Nonprofits, I mean, listen, a lot of them have insurance. They also have money. They can talk a big game, but they often have both. I should say happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Certainly. 4th of July, 2025. Telemundo, YouTube user VA says, hi, Vince and all. Happy 4th of July. And to you, VA. Oh, chat jumping. Whoa, chat's getting wild. Ho, 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 ho says, hi, I'm back. Them firing me was tied to discrimination. They were angry. I wouldn't stop opposing them. Okay, so you got a hell of a retaliation claim. So will that audio recording help me in a discrimination, retaliation, termination claim? I think so. Sounds like it's good evidence. Anna R says, what if they fired all of my witnesses right after they gave their affidavits to the EEO? Your attorney, Anne, should consider opening retaliation claims for all those people. That is a valuable set of claims, and it's important to support the people who support your clients. So that's what we would do. YouTube user Drakil Dunn says, next time I contacted the office, I was told the EEO investigator was no longer part of the commission right after he asked about the settlement. Okay. So hopefully they assigned you a new investigator. Take over. YouTube user Ho 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 says, also the employer is a government entity. They also skipped the due process. I'm entitled to be a firefighter. I'm entitled to by firefighter law. Okay. Telemundo says, currently I'm in a tolling agreement, but they must have it. They offered me $65,000, but I said nope. Russell Brand, glad it's good to know. Hope it helped. Elijah Young says, thanks, Vince. Thanks, Elijah Young. Jay Sion says, have the right to sue letter since 4/17. Remember, you only got 90 days. Had an attorney. They don't file federal. Can't find pro bono. I mean, listen, you're not going to find pro bono. You're not a child, right? I think what you're looking for is contingency, right? You want a percentage. You want them to work in a percentage. If you want pro bono, you want free representation, good luck. Go find somebody to buy your house or build your house for free. You're asking the same amount of work. Just not going to happen. What do I do? Small time frame. Attorney denied me after seeing my right to sue letter or want $6,000. Yeah, I think you're going to have to figure it out. If you find a good attorney, they want $6,000 and you don't want to do that. I hear you. If you want to ask them for a payment plan, you think they're going to do a good job, you think they're going to win you a lot of money, I mean, then, maybe you want to do that. It's tough. Pro bono is just not, get that out of your head. Pro bono means free work for like charity stuff, right? And you got a valuable claim. So the attorneys are going to be like, yeah, why would I do this for free? I can do it for a percentage. Like you're not the person who gets pro bono. You're the person who has a valuable claim. If it's good enough, they'll do it on a percentage, right? Russell Brand, do I want to add for my previous question? Oh, I do want to add for my previous question. The other party has basically been dismissive of everything so far. I'll probably have to sue. That sucks. That's very foolish of them. Telemundo 9283 says, how to settle with nonprofits without insurance? I guess that's the question. So if they don't have insurance, it's just like settling with any private company. They can say they don't have money, but you got to push, Russell Brand, in this case, it's still not revealing too much in my hand by doing that, making the EEOC filing as strong as possible. Russell, I'm not going to give you a different answer. I already answered the question. If you're trying to get a settlement at the EEOC level, you're going to have to add a little more detail to the charge. That's all we can really say, right? By his grace, when a sale is pending between my previous employer and another company, the lawsuits be settled before the sale? Oh, okay, before the sale. So your prior employer is being sold to another company. The other company is signed off on by the EC. Do the suits have to be mentioned? So lawsuits will have to be disclosed, and they don't have to be settled, but they do have to be disclosed, and they have to be adjudicated. So sometimes the lawsuits will stay with the entity. Some portion of the entity will be left behind in the sale, and they won't go to the buyer. Sometimes the buyer assumes all the litigation, all the lawsuits, the liabilities. That is certainly a possibility. And there's a variety of other options in between. There's holding companies that take on the liability that be funded. There's lots of stuff. But generally, yeah, during a sale, you do have extra leverage, but it's not like perfect extra leverage where they have to give you money to get this done for the sale to go through. It's just they might want to avoid disclosure, right? YouTube user Vroom Vroom says, hi, Vince. Did you ever meet employees who kind of abuse the protected activity thing in order to make themselves fireproof? Yep. All the time. I kind of look down on it. Unless their engagement in protected activity is very legitimate. YouTube user, whoa. Chat jumping on me. I'm trying to read a question here. And Daniel Roche says, with the labor scene in the U.S. getting increasingly horrific, that is not true. The labor scene for white collar workers is getting horrific. And labor law continuing to get weaker. Well, that's also not really true. Are there any forms of activism you recommend for advocating for your legal rights, for your labor rights? Sharing information. I would definitely share information. And I think we just have to vote better, right? Like at the end of the day, the population of the U.S. needs to look at the two major political parties and realize they're predatory towards labor, towards employees. They are like playing funny games with unions to get endorsements, but they routinely sell the unions out. I think it's very prevalent with Trump. I think it's very prevalent with Biden. The Biden administration was elected on the back of labor and spent most of their time betraying labor, if I'm being honest. The DNC, the RNC, these are not political parties meant to help the middle class. These are not political parties meant to help workers or organize labor. Political parties that do those things do exist and are worthy of your research, without a doubt. And that is the kind of activism I would root for. Familiarize yourself with the labor record and the voting record of any politician you're considering voting for, and like really read into it. Like there are labor scorecards. There's something I thought about was doing kind of like quick reviews of politicians on this channel for just their labor scorecard type of thing. But it gets to be kind of broad, like what states would I do it in, stuff like that. You know, it's tough. It's tough. We do some of that kind of thing with directors, heads of departments, sometimes head of the EEOC, outgoing, ingoing, you know, stuff like that. But excuse me, I think it'd be tough. It'd be a little tough with politicians. What is the holiday menu for today? That is a good question. So we're doing hamburgers and hot dogs. We got a good crew here today. And then so probably hamburgers and hot dogs for lunch. And then dinner's going to be tomahawk ribeyes and also Chinese style spare ribs. So marinated spare ribs. And then a lot of corn that I grew here. It's actually last year's corn that we froze. So, you know, corn on the cob, it's been in the freezer, taking it out for use today. Probably some homemade bread and a salad of garden greens, freshly picked from the garden. From the gardens here, I should say. Ooh, VA is having American-style tacos made with beef from grass-fed cows. That is the best kind of beef, without a doubt. I'm really excited for us to get cows. Really, really excited for it. Music Underground said, can you sue your employment attorney for forcing and accepting your settlement? But what if the lawyer switched the lawyer with his wife's name? Okay, so like, when you say your employment attorney forced you, was there like a knife? Was there a gun? Like what kind of physical force did your employment attorney use to force you? Because was there threats of violence? Were they beating you up? Like what was the nature of them forcing you to settle your case? Because a lot of people are like, my employment attorney forced me to settle the case. And the employment attorney was actually like, hey, I think you should settle your case for this amount. It's okay if you don't want to, but I'm not going to take your case forward to like federal litigation or something. And then the people be like, well, they forced me. It's like, no, you could have gotten another attorney. You didn't have to. You chose to, right? They gave you an ultimatum, and we can look at that ultimatum. Was it fair? Was it wise? Were they being intelligent in giving you that ultimatum? And the answer may be no. And I may not be happy with that attorney, but you can't really say they forced you. It's not how force works. King Will says, Mr. White, I won my unemployment appeal against Amazon. Congratulations. My EEOC charge is now under investigation. I love that. Your channel helped me understand retaliation, pretext, and proximity of time. King Will, thank you so much for saying that. I routinely feel ridiculous talking to this camera by myself in my office late at night or here on the farm. It feels ridiculous. So you saying it's helpful really makes me kind of fills me ow, kind of fills me with purpose, I guess. Makes me feel better about how I spend my time on a July 4th holiday. Rolando Rivas says, sorry, Vince. My question is, can I sue everyone involved in 3 different grievance proceedings if you have claims? Yeah, I don't know. Like, what are the claims? Why would you sue everybody involved in the grievance proceeding? If there's a claim, if you're like, oh, they bamboozled me, they lied to me, they committed fraud, then yeah, if you have a viable cause of action for that, then yes. You can also appeal their findings, right? YouTube user Josiah Horton said, would you use that fact of breaking New York minimum wage law to help prove that your employer violated other laws? No. Like other laws like the ADA, retaliation and wage discrimination? No. So not paying minimum wage is not proof of an ADA violation or retaliation or wage discrimination. It can be if you're like, hey, all these other people with other protected classes or no protected classes got paid at least minimum wage and I didn't, then that's a good piece of evidence. You can also, for the ADA, argue, hey, the people who didn't ask for accommodations got paid better than minimum wage. And I got paid less than minimum wage. Or the people who didn't engage in protected activity got paid better than minimum wage. And so I have a retaliation claim, right? Like that, those are all viable arguments. If you're putting those in that context, absolutely. But if it's just like, hey, I didn't get minimum wage, you need more than that. That by itself is not going to be a link for any of those claims. You need to like have a, because I got paid less than minimum wage and because these people got paid better than minimum wage and because these people don't have my protected class or didn't engage in my protected activity, then that's why I got paid less than minimum wage. But also look at the time. Like, when did they decide to start paying you less than minimum wage? Was it before they knew that you needed a reasonable accommodation? Maybe it's not because you asked for reasonable accommodation then, right? That's a challenging part of that argument as well. YouTube user Drew Kill Dunn says, how to prepare pro se for an attempted summary judgment. Excuse me. In a case, I have compromised the company's credibility, showing they destroyed files. Well, are you filing for summary judgment or are you opposing their file for summary judgment? If you're pro se, I would not file for summary judgment. It's a waste of your time. Mallcop, YouTube user Mallcop says, I just got a verdict in my case. 4 causes of action. I lost on 3. Jury found in my favor on 1 and awarded $3 million. Mallcop, that's incredible. Congratulations to you. Post the link. That's to the award. That's incredible. I'm so glad for you. $3 million. Mallcop, you're rich. Well done. This is what a great live stream. People are awesome. Okay. Rodolfo Estrada says, happy 4th, folks. Stay safe. Rodolfo, to you as well. Music Underground said, man, you are the best, brother. Strong arm. I gotta actually flex. I hope you get to enjoy the farm, brother. You ever get those pests from eating your crops? Yeah, we took care of the pests. We let the chickens into the garden. They take care of all the pests. It works out great. TV ratings guy says, what is your opinion on Ogletree Deacons? Yeah, pretty good defense firm. Do you think some employment defense firms are better at finding resolution with the employee rather than continuing litigation compared to big law? Yeah, Jackson Lewis. Jackson Lewis settles a lot of cases. They have great trial teams. Not throwing any shade at Jackson Lewis, but they're more of a budget option, more of a settlement-minded option sometimes. Daniel Roche says, Northern California employment firms are kind of a nightmare to engage. I ended up going Southern California for representation and got a settlement. Oh, okay. I'm sorry you had a tough time with the Northern California employment attorneys, but I'm glad you got a good result. Hopefully your settlement is something you're happy with. Jay Sign said, sorry, I meant contingency, not pro bono. It's hard to find a contingency attorney with a small window. It is. It can be very hard to find a pure contingency attorney. A lot of firms, I think most firms these days do charge something up front. Just kind of how the industry went. Whoa. Trying to find where we left off. Okay. All right. VA says, in your experience, when you have filed a complaint with the New York DHR, so the New York State Division of Human Rights, on average, how many weeks or months until you receive a response? 3 months for a position statement. Russell Brand says, great. Thanks, man. You're welcome, Russell. Dakota Denali says, in your experience, do you like employment attorneys are generally hesitant to file sexual harassment or discrimination claims against law firms or on behalf of attorneys? No. Law firms are some of the best targets to hit. They understand the pain and suffering and unpleasantness of litigation and the uncertainty of it all, and they want to cut checks, and they're very reputation conscious. I love law firm cases. Also, you get these amazing, we have one of these now, without giving any identifying characteristics. This attorney thought he was like hot shit. So we sued his law firm, and he went and filed a really, really stupid litigation. Basically, like engaged in textbook retaliation. And in doing so, committed like a swath of ethical violations that imperil his license now. And it's just like watching us pull apart his life while he loses his coked up mind. And I mean, listen, removing a bad apple from the marketplace is a good thing in this industry. There are way too many bad apple employment attorneys. And he is in fact an actual employment attorney. And a sincere piece of human garbage. Who I once almost had a fist fight with. He tried to fist fight me. people interceded. Just a really bad dude. And yeah, I mean, law firms are easier. They're easier targets. One of the easiest. YouTube user Dre Fresh says, Vince, I'm being attacked for reporting discrimination at my job. It's a retaliation claim. I've been retaliated against. Yep, you got it. And I have contacted your firm. Can you please help me? I have already talked to your intake. So whatever the intake said is what the intake goes. I don't override the intake. If they gave you an attorney time call, then that's what's coming up. If they were unable to give you an attorney time call, then you're not going to get one. You can always ask them to reconsider, give them some new information, that type of thing. But we try to give attorney time to any viable claims we talk to. So, certainly the goal is to help, but also remember your local firms, your local options is going to be way cheaper than our firm. We're a little pricey, if I'm being honest. YouTube user, and we're pricey for a reason, right? We're flying attorneys around the country. We have some, in my opinion, some of the best attorneys in the field. We compensate them in keeping with that. The best get paid the best. And we got to pay them an extra bump, an extra premium to travel the country for you. It's not like people want to be traveling, doing trials in the middle of nowhere, doing trials in Buffalo, New York in February, right? I mean, that is a cold, windy proposition to spend 2 weeks in Buffalo in February. But you pay the talent enough, they'll do it. They'll go help the people wherever you need them, right? So yeah, we are more expensive than the local options. So check that out as well. Excuse me. Okay. YouTube user Dakota Denali says, I'm going to law school in August. Hey, congratulations, Dakota. And I was curious about employment law on behalf of attorneys who are victims of sexual harassment and discrimination claims. I mean, I wouldn't start a practice just on behalf of attorneys, but I would certainly say that'd be a great part of your practice. YouTube user Rasha Franklin. I apologize. Hi, Vince. How long does it take for counsel to get demands together for mediation? About 2 weeks. VA says, your holiday menu sounds yummy. Thanks for sharing that, Vince. I'm jealous now. VA, I'm a pretty avid cook. Wouldn't call myself a chef. Certainly would call myself a cook. It's something that I think every fellow ought to be able to do. YouTube user Britney Henry says, I've been waiting tables for 15 years, and last year I was hired at a huge Fortune 500 company. I ended up in the emergency mental health services facility on Thanksgiving. Oh boy, I'm sorry. I've been diagnosed legally SMI. I don't know what that means. I have multiple letters from therapists and the suicide hotline. I was transferred to still now know what I said. My old job says they are not responsible because I didn't put disability on my app. Yet I spoke to my store manager, area supervisor, blah, blah, blah. They have an army. I'm one single mom. Okay, I guess I'm confused. Are you saying they gave you the mental health disability? Or like they did something to you and you have an injury from the workplace? So there is mental health workers' comp. You can talk to a workers' comp attorney. It's a very short statute of limitations, so talk to them immediately. But if you're saying, hey, my job's mistreatment caused me this workplace harm, it's just mental harm, that is technically a viable claim. It can be difficult to get workers' comp attorneys to take those, but that's one thing. Now, the second thing is, if you're arguing, hey, I experienced disability discrimination, okay, did they know about the disability? If they didn't know about the disability, then it wasn't disability discrimination, potentially. Unless they should have known, if they had some other sign, some other indication, right? That's a different story. So it's a new or should have known standard. So if you're like, hey, they knew about my disability, great. They should have known about my disability. I showed symptoms, whatever it is. It was obvious. Okay, fair enough. That's an argument as well. That's a potential claim. Let's go back to the last part of your question to make sure I'm addressing everything here. I'm only one single mom. How can I proceed with a right to sue letter from the Attorney General? Well, I would hire counsel. I'd hire representation. I would hire representation would be my recommendation. YouTube user ho says, I've recorded them calling me a little N-word, and I was walking away from the room. I can prove all of my claims. I just hope this can land me a big settlement instead of going to court. Well, that is quite a thing to say to you. And yeah, I think that is a potentially strong piece of evidence. The YouTube user, and I'm sorry they said that to you. That's disgusting. And little just makes it worse. Like the raw hate of the N-word, and you just little, like enough. You had to be diminutive. What the fuck? Pardon my language. Ali Babab says, what risks are added to a case when an employee waits months to find an attorney if they retaliate against terminated? Waiting does add risk, but it doesn't destroy the case. Consequently, how hard or costly is it to fight and win? Well, I don't know. I don't know what your case is, right? I don't know the specifics of your case. Listen, if you waited 6 months, is that thrilling to me? No. Does it ruin the case? No, it doesn't. Not at all. Host, do you think that my audio of them calling me a little N-word will get them to settle? I think it sure might help. I sure do. Yeah, that's not a good look for them, right? VA says, would you ever consider adding bison to your farm? I would, but I like bison meat. But I think I'm more gonna go with the Scottish Highland cattle. I think that the Scottish Highland cattle, in terms of their land needs, are a slightly better option for us. I'm not positive this is true, but I think bison have have greater land needs, greater pasture requirements than your average Scottish Highland. Okay. Rolando, Choose Compassion posted our pro se litigation playlist. Rolando Rivas says, thanks for making the time, Vince. Continued success and great health. Thank you, Rolando. Yeah, Daniel Rose says, Britney, seek out workers' comp counsel. I agree. Bambino Dadon says, Vince, how do sanctions work in court and what triggers them? Like, how can I put sanctions on my employer? Well, if they did something wrong in the litigation, you can file for sanctions and the judge can decide if sanctions are appropriate or not. If you're just like, hey, I heard about sanctions, how do I sanction my employer? And you don't have like a specific thing your employer did in the litigation that you think was wrong, you're probably just kind of yeeting down the wrong path type of thing. Yeah, if they're up to something, if they're playing funny with the discovery, if they're lying, there's things you can do. You can sanction, certainly. YouTube user, whoa, jumping ahead, chat jumping on me. What do we got? Okay, gotta find it. Josiah Horton says, thanks for answering and for all your help. Happy to help, Josiah. Looks like Brittany and Daniel are going back and forth, helping each other. Love that. Love to see that. Love to see the channel viewers help. Not reading that. Okay, what do we have? D's Just Jokes said, my former employer is currently stonewalling the Civil Rights Department. Does that spell bad news for me? Or is that bad news for them? Please let me know what you think, Vince. I think it's just a delay. If you have the resources to go on a federal litigation, you should be fine. YouTube user Anonymous says, hi, Vince. Since you have to notify companies you've been retained, at what point does the company Does the company have to notify you of their defense counsel, who it is? So they want to notify you as fast as they can. Because they don't want to talk to you. They don't want their people talking to you. They want their experienced employment defense counsel talking to you because they know how to deal with us, right? So usually they're racing to notify us of their chosen defense counsel. YouTube user by his grace. If you win at trial, how do you prevent the defense from appealing? You do not. Do large settlement amounts increase the chance of an appeal? They do. At trial, can I offer a lower settlement? At trial, can I offer a lower settlement? Can offering a lower settlement help avoid one? Yes. Listen, you can settle before trial at a lower settlement amount, but if you win at trial and they appeal your settlement, you can still make a settlement, right? You can go and like, okay, you're appealing, you're trying to hold up the settlement. We both know I'm probably going to win this appeal. I'll give you like 20% off the verdict you want to settle. They might not. They may come back and you say, well, we'd give you half, and you got to make an informed decision. Is that right for you? Is that not right for you? That kind of thing. YouTube user Ace High says, you're live on my birthday. I just left you a question. Ace, if you want to ask it here, I'll do my best. Okay. I see what you're saying, Brittany. Brittany says the SMI is seriously mentally ill. Seriously mentally ill. I got you. Andrew Love Maria 2 says, hey, Vince, question. I worked somewhere where there was employee theft of my personal belongings. I talked with HR. They didn't do anything. I spoke to security. They didn't do anything. What to do? I mean, I guess you can file police charges if you want, but it's going to really, it depends on what they took. Like if they took like thousands of dollars from you, then you probably have to do something. If it's not, listen, don't take valuable things to work. And, you might have to let it go. Fighting it too hard might cause trouble in the workplace. You want to keep that job. Hey, choose compassion. Yesterday was your birthday. Today is your son's birthday. Happy belated to you and happy birthday to your son. YouTube user Andy says, thanks for your time. I've been posting videos of AI, about AI lately. Yes, I have. Can a pro se litigant benefit by using AI as long as they research case law and follow the rules of the court procedure, evidence, text? So I'm going to be honest with you, Andy. I personally don't believe that pro se litigants are effectively able to use AI for the purpose of litigation yet. And I understand that different people have different talent levels with AI. Currently, to use AI, currently it is my belief that to use AI effectively in this industry, you would not only need to be an incredibly talented AI operator, but also an experienced employment attorney, and that using the AI would actually take you more time currently to back check everything and check all the illusions, the ghosts in the machine, the fever dreams of the AI would actually take you longer than just doing the work as it would traditionally be done by an employment attorney. That will not be the case for long. AI is coming along very quickly, but right now, pro se litigants using AI, I think it is a red herring. I think it is a trap. I do. I'm sorry. YouTube user, fat fish can't swim. Fat fish can swim. Fat fish need swimming too. Leave them fat fish alone. Sent a protected email. They suppressed it, replaced it with rebuttal. 3 days later, supervisor fired me with humiliation of a new hire badge, altered documents, unsigned HR incidents, and more. That sucks. Certainly sounds like a claim, though. YouTube user AR American says, hey, Vince, the defense has a mediation deadline within a week. What can I expect? A mediation deadline? Like responding to your settlement? Either a yes or a no, or a counter. YouTube user Kemi. Hi, Vince. I'm currently involved in a workplace employment lawsuit in which a total of 3 plaintiffs are also suing the employer for similar complaints. Fantastic. I love seeing people collaborate and corroborate. Big fan. AR American says also is having a witness list usually very helpful in winning a better settlement. I think if they're afraid of your witnesses, sure. It looks like the chat really helped out Britney Henry. I love that. I love to see it. Viral shedding zombie. It's a zombie. A job zombie. Viral shedding zombie. Vince, in an EEOC complaint, can the EEOC compel a corporate officer or director to make a written statement? No. I mean, the EEOC technically has subpoena power, but I don't know that I've ever seen them compel someone. So, like, do they theoretically have the capability? Maybe. In certain settings, if they're doing an investigation, yeah, in certain settings, they certainly have that capability. Let me recant. They have that capability. The reality, though, is in investigating cases, in terms of cases filed by like litigants, I've never seen it happen. Ace High says, I have $1 million case, but I'm waiting for a response from my employer. I've been pulled by the EEOC for early mediation, but it's been 3 weeks now. I just reached out for counsel to help me negotiate. It's very exciting. I'm rooting for you. YouTube user Kemi says, my attorney does not want me to read a deposition of a former colleague until after I have my own deposition. Is this normal? Yeah, I think they're afraid that deposition is going to mess you up. They like your version of events better. They like your story. They don't want you getting confused by this other person's story or getting frustrated or anything like that. So I would just go ahead and maybe trust your attorney on that one. Ace high, is it normal to still be waiting this long for mediation? Yeah, 3 weeks isn't a long time. YouTube user milkshakes, can a video with no audio be used in evidence? Sure. You can lip read what is said, but the audio did not save. I mean, listen, lip reading, you're going to end up with a lip reading expert witness. Maybe at that point, if you need to substantiate what was said in the video, that's going to be a little tough, but I think, yeah, it could be evidence. YouTube user Philip Morningwood says, hi, Vince. How many attorneys work for your firm? On your website, there are only a handful listed, but you must employ more given how many cases you say you handle. We do. We have counsels. We have contract attorneys. We have a local counsel network. We also have, frankly, I have to update the website. We have opened 2 full new litigation teams since I last updated the website. And I've really been spending a lot of my time trying to acquire, so acquire some firms with really good talent in them, and hire other attorneys who I know are going to work the cases the way I really want. So let me think right now. It's going to be, as of September, it's going to be 11 attorneys working directly. It's going to be 9 attorneys working directly from the firm, 2 of counsel attorneys, and then, our contract attorneys and our local counsel network. And I do absolutely have to get headshots done and get all the bios drafted and get the websites updated. You're absolutely right, Philip. And the weird thing for the website is, like, it's just not, like, a lot of firms live on and die by their website, and that's how they get cases. It's not really part of how we do business. Like, people come seeking us out. It's not really about our website, but you're absolutely right. I got to update that. Very important. Choose Compassion says, I like the nonprofit questions. It sounded like it really isn't a difference between nonprofits or other employers. That is largely true. What types of income can one go after with a nonprofit? All the income, anything they have. YouTube user Kelsey says, is it unusual to drop a claim during summary judgment? No, if you think a claim is going to lose its summary judgment and you don't want to bother opposing that because you don't think you can win, you might just drop it. I think it also can strengthen your other arguments in certain situations. Like, hey, judge, we dropped the claim that we thought we would lose at summary judgment because we're on the up and up here. And like these other claims, they're good to go. We should definitely win on those. Like, there's nothing that strange about it. Sometimes the evidence just doesn't match your claims. And so you go with the claims you got, the good ones. And then you just, if there's something that's just not going to make it to trial, why die on that hill? The original Torah says, do you know anything about workers' comp? Not a workers' comp attorney. Got to talk to a workers' comp attorney. If a motion to dismiss by defense gets denied, can they appeal this decision? Yeah, they can try. I mean, it's a little unlikely, but they can certainly try. YouTube user Kemi says, how long will defendants try and keep delaying production of discovery documents? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. We have 53 concurrent viewers, but only 38 likes on the channel or on the stream. Remember, liking the stream is free, and it's how people find our stream. It is the only way the algorithm helps us. YouTube user Dung Beetle 4415 says, do you think any of the policy changes from Trump will change how employment claims will be handled? I do not. With the exception of federal contractors, which is a different story. And federal contractors are certainly in a worse spot than everyone else now. Although they always were to some extent. But with the exception of federal contractors, I don't think that any of Trump's changes have been meaningful. I don't think that Trump's changes are generally meaningful in the realm of employment law. I don't think he has a lot of agenda in the realm of employment law. And I think he's just doing a flood the zone approach. Like he's just doing lots of things. And some of the things he's doing in employment law are things that like he doesn't care about, but he's trying to create chaos so he can get away with other things. That's my read of the situation. I'm not a political analyst. That's just as best as I can keep a handle on things. That seems to be what's going on. A lot of the reporting, and I've been attacked for this. I've said a couple of different times, a lot of the things I don't think are that meaningful. You know, swapping the head of the EEOC and a couple of the other things he's done. And people come at me, other employment attorneys come at me, who I like and respect, to be clear. They're like, oh, it's easy for you to say. You're like a white guy. You know, what do you care about equality? And like, fair accusation. I do have a little bit less, you know, but I don't really have protected class, right? But that being said, by the way, these 42-gram vanilla Fairlifes are the greatest protein shake ever created by humankind. And they digest so much better than a standard whey protein powder shake. Like, it's wild. This is not a paid sponsorship. I'm just a big fan. Yeah, I just don't find the Trump changes to be meaningful. What do we have? Trying to go back and chat and find where I was. It jumped at. YouTube user Russell Brand says, in your opinion, is it true that EOC mediations are often normally pennies on the dollar? I've heard 5 to 20,000 offers are popular for actual cases. Yeah, I think an offer between 5 and 20 is a pretty standard opening offer. You don't have to take that. You can push for more. I think that the average EOC settlement is viewed to be like $35,000, I think. Although I think most of those people are unrepresented, which is pretty meaningful. You know, you got to push. You can't just take what they give you. Pascal Maxino said, good afternoon, Vince. What do I make from an investigator asking me to follow up a follow-up question about some of the charge against my employer? Is that common? Sure. Especially if you drafted your own charge, it might not, there might be things they need to clarify. YouTube user Noel Whitman said, hi, Vince. How often should you continue to complain to HR if harassment does not stop? Are we talking sexual harassment? Are we talking discrimination? What are we talking about? State employment seems worse. It is. To those watching, Vince answers his phone and is very informative. Oh, thank you very much, Noel. I mean, I don't generally answer my phone. We have a call center. We have staff in-house also who answer the phones. But if you're calling my cell, it's not getting answered. Daniel Roche says no is a good answer, Vince. I don't know, Daniel, what you're referencing. I apologize. Why? Okay, YouTube user FF says, why are federal court of appeals decisions re-summary judgments so overwhelming against plaintiffs on a numbers basis? Because most plaintiffs, there's a lot of plaintiffs filing frivolous appeals. There's a lot of people who don't really understand what is and is not appealable. And so they just they'll fire off these kind of absurdist appeals that all the attorneys are like, this is not an argument. This is not a thing. YouTube user Daniel Roche said, EEOC counselors do not see themselves as an advocate for the employee. Accurate. That is an accurate statement. Okay. Lulu, YouTube user Lulu says, a 1L intern handled my EEOC case. Like internally at the EEOC, that hate to see that. He closed it because they hired another woman and didn't include my retaliation claim. I'm worried that the record's wrong. Can defendants see what the EEOC has? Can it be used to impeach me? Well, listen, you can file a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, and get the whole EEOC file, and then you'll know what's actually in it. And yeah, the employer can probably do that too, so it's worth your time. YouTube user Milkshake said, how can an employee manage a situation in which multiple government agencies... What? How can an employee manage a situation in which multiple government agencies, if I got injured while reporting OSHA violation, then laid off for being active because of FMLA during an acquisition? Okay, I don't really fully understand the question. If you were laid off while reporting an OSHA violation, that could be an OSHA whistleblower claim. You might also have FMLA claims in there. You might have some ADA claims. Sounds like there's a lot. Talk to a local employment attorney. AR American says, have any defense lawyers just straight out ignored all of your demands and requests for the most part? Yeah, sure. There's employment defense firms who just want to go to trial. It's more billing for them. They might feel they have the stronger argument. Is what it is. Like, it happens. Just a reality. And that might not be great for our client. They might want a settlement, but it's great for us. We love going to trial. And obviously, if the client wants to settle, we'll try to settle. But if the other side's not going to settle, we can't make them settle. So we're going to go to trial, right? Brianna Smith. Hi, I've got a few questions you probably answered. The first job I got, the chef was being racist to me, calling me a terrorist because I'm originally from Turkey. Mentioned guns, made fun of my accent and my name. That's a claim. That is a national origin and race claim and perceived religion claim, maybe. There's a whole bunch of things going on there. YouTube user BMM, hiring official states in selection memo that his reason for discussing negatively, causing non-selection about me, was because of frequent application and subsequent EEO complaints. Direct evidence. That is direct evidence. You should absolutely use that in your retaliation claim. YouTube user Milkshakes. Thank you. That was so helpful. I'm really glad it was helpful, Milkshakes. YouTube user Brianna Smith, but I don't have proof. All I have are two witnesses. Well, listen, what your and their witness testimony is evidence. And I have a Google meeting in July 10th. Do you have a recording of the Google meeting? That'd be helpful. Daniel Roche says, I actually have a comically hostile and incompetent EEOC counselor in my case. Lots of those going around, sadly. AR American, is it normal for defense to just be very distant, unresponsive? I mean, it depends. It depends on the relationship with defense. Some are that way. Most are not. Most are pretty friendly, at least with our firm. Certainly some are very combative with our firm because they don't like what we've done in the past. There's also, there's some defense firms who get annoyed by this channel because, I have a history of referring to certain defense attorneys and certain defense firms like evil Poindexters, evil nerds, like, I'm going to fight this case and I'm really glad my guy burned a cross in your yard. Like those people, like, they did nothing wrong. She was asking for it. You're like, okay. All right. You're just like an evil little nerdy munchkin. Like what, it's just like, it's almost like comically evil. And you're just like, so this is how you want to earn your money, huh? This is it. This makes you feel good. All right. We're going to have to mess you up. You asked for it, it just like is what it is. So yeah, listen, frankly, 80-90% of defense firms thrilled to work with us, thrilled to litigate with us. They like talking settlement with us. And, we're good litigators and they enjoy a good litigation because a good litigation makes them bill more. So they like that because their clients pay them more, right? All right. YouTube user Tact says, going to mediation on the 15th of this month. Congratulations. Rooting for you. Injured back as a passenger in an Uber. Oh, are you talking to me about a PI case? Yeah, I'm an employment attorney, dude. I'm not talking to you about PI cases. Come on. YouTube user Kristen from Manhattan says, for senior leaders in finance who are considered filing a federal complaint, would you provide insight into how you counsel clients on being blackballed? Yeah, absolutely. I quiet case it. You would file that in a quiet case fashion, certainly. Offer confidential mediation if it's not already required by contract. Yeah, you don't want to end your career just because you brought the case. The case will be valuable, I'm sure, but it's never going to be worth the earning potential the rest of your career, Kristen, if you're a senior finance leader. So, and also Kristen from Manhattan, I think we're neighbors when I'm in the office working. At one point, the EEOC investigators oh, this is Daniel Roche. I apologize. At one point, the EEOC investigators' immediate supervisor hopped on a call and apologized to me. Yeah, listen, there's some bad investigators in the world, no doubt. Vince, have you seen small employment firms hire former clients who they didn't charge to help with paralegal work? I have indeed. We have actually hired clients over the years. Avatar of Justice, what do you think about reporting legal and statutory issues in government-funded programs? Listen, I'm always a little nervous counting on the government to do anything, especially the right thing. So I'm going to be a little biased here and say that I think lawsuits might be a better option. But listen, sometimes the lawsuits aren't what you want, so you got to make informed decisions. YouTube user Ho 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 says, hey, Vince, I was only 19 at the time of my retaliation, termination, discrimination, caused serious mental issues. Do you think this makes the case worse? On their end, I was damn near a kid. No, you're 19. You're an adult. I don't think it changes anything. In fact, I think it makes it potentially less valuable because you're 19. So you have easier time mitigating and potentially less earning potential at that time because you're younger. You have less of a resume built up. Avatar of Justice says, triple heart. Avatar, it's good to see you. Kristen from Manhattan says, hit the like button. Choose Compassion says, also hits the like button. Thank you so much, you two. Brianna, whoa, chat jumping. We're going to go 2 hours today, I think. Trying to go 2 hours. It's going pretty well. We got 52 concurrents. We got 51 concurrents, 51 likes. Everybody, we got parity. Okay, what do we got? YouTube user Brianna Smith says, my discrimination case is going fast. The chef was being majorly racist, calling me a terrorist. Okay, we did that one, I think. YouTube user AR American says, is it true that if you try to depose the CEO, the defense can just block that request easily? Any way around that at all? Listen, if the CEO is not personally involved in the case, then you're not going to get to depose the CEO. But if you can show some personal involvement, like decision-making or activity by the CEO as part of the case, then you have a really good argument for deposing that person. Brianna Smith goes on, what do you think will happen? I mean, it sounds like you have pretty good evidence and a strong case. I think there's a good chance you get a settlement. YouTube user Vince Mary says, during mediation, instead of money, is it possible to negotiate to get your job back? Never get fired again and have it written in a contract. So you can't. Listen, I'll be honest with you. It's unlikely they want you back. And not because you're not a good employee, but because you going back creates a big liability for them. That being said, you can absolutely negotiate for your job back. I don't think there's many employers dumb enough to agree to never fire you again. That doesn't really make any sense as a demand or a settlement term they would agree to. But I'm trying to think if it's even contractually viable. But I guess that's neither here nor there because I don't think anybody would agree to it. YouTube user Cushy Kem said, I had a stroke. Oh, I'm sorry. And I was immediately fired. That is a bad day. EEOC has had my charge almost a year. What is the estimate for time frame? Does an investigation take? Just get counsel, pull your right to sue letter, and go to federal court. Oh, milkshakes. Says you're a touch lactose intolerant. Fairlife is lactose free. So I drink a lot of milk and heavy cream with no problem and eat a lot of ice cream. But whey protein in its like isolate powder form that you like mix up for protein shakes just does not go great in my tum-tum, my stomach, as we say. So I guess I don't know. I don't know if I'm lactose intolerant. I don't think I am. I mean, I'm probably not. I'm Northern European stock, and most of them are not, lactose intolerant. I think most lactose intolerant folks are from the Mediterranean. But what do I know? I am not a doctor. YouTube user Choose Compassion says, this may not be a question for you now, but do you think the verdict of the rapper trial guy, so I believe P. Diddy, whose name I will not say, I'm sorry, will have a negative impact on sexual harassment for ordinary people? No, I do not at all. Also, it wasn't the civil case. It was just the criminal case. And he was actually found criminally guilty. It was just, he was overcharged. Like the RICO statute charges didn't fully make sense. Yeah. Noah Whitman says, I meant returned your business calls. Well, I certainly do that. I very much return business calls. I just don't return personal calls. Don't call me personally. People get very angry about it. Just text me or it's not going to happen. Like I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to listen to you for 20 minutes ever. There's no one. My daughter. That would be it. YouTube user The Incredible Boom Boom. If negotiating severance on behalf of an employee with a discrimination complaint could quarterly bonuses, promotion to shareholder track the prior year, and profit sharing be considered in the total? Yes. Yes. YouTube user Des B. Happy 4th, Mr. Vince. Thank you, Des B. And the same to you. When you have a mediation scheduled and the opposing counsel cancels, do you suggest rescheduling or proceed with asking for a right to sue letter? Both. She's like, hey, you canceled mediation. Do you want to reschedule that or nah? If nah, I'm going to pull that right to sue letter. We're going to go ahead to federal litigation. Okay, again, tax tact, only an employment attorney. Can't advise you about personal injury claims. No idea. Not what I do. Not a PI attorney. I'm sorry. AR American says, typically, how much money does it cost a plaintiff's lawyer to litigate all the way to trial? I will tell you that litigating all the way to trial on average costs us between $20,000 and $80,000. It has certainly been higher than that on certain cases. I believe the highest I have ever spent on a case was close to $210,000. That was a very special situation with a tremendous amount of data attached to the case that had to be housed on a very specialized server and combed by specialized staff. And it was a nightmare, but worth it. It was a nightmare. And if you want to see me sweat, just watch me watch the balance sheet on a case that I don't think is going to settle. Just going, the spend going up. And I'm like, we're just going to trial. Like we're just fingers crossed going to trial, right? And if my trial team loses, I'm just out hundreds of attorney hours because I pay all these attorneys, right? But also all that investment just out the window, just eat it out the window. And I'm watching like deposition prep for the plaintiff. And the plaintiff is just like screaming at people. You're like, whoa. This is just prep. We're just giving you the hard questions now so you know how to deal with them. Like you need to take it down like 17 notches here. And like they can't. And you're just like, okay, this is not what I want in my life. The Incredible Boom Boom says, the attorney wants to negotiate just on the base salary, which is significantly lower, but not including the total compensation. So if there's like a reason, ask them why. They might listen. The reason might be like, hey, I think you're overplaying your hand. I don't think you have as much leverage as you think you have. There's more risk in this case than you're making room for. So I think you should go with this lower demand. Well, that's a legitimate discussion, and maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. You can decide. You're the plaintiff, you're the boss, but like that's different than you can't go for those. That's a different answer, right? Pascal Maxinow says, what is the average cost for an employer to pay counsel to represent them throughout the EEOC process? So ADP, I did a video on this recently. I believe ADP says it is $160,000. And ADP may know because they are the largest payroll company in the country. And I believe run the largest like outsourced HR service in the country as well. So their numbers have some merit. Hello, NYC Damages. NYC Damages says, hey, Vince, great to see you. How can you, let's say, poke the EEOC to do specific research and get them to look into the right evidence at the employer on location? Do it for them. The answer is do it for them. If you can do it for them, that matters. If you can write the questions for them, that works too. Yeah. BMM says, with direct evidence, should complainant file a motion for summary judgment? If you're represented and you have a very legitimate argument for summary judgment, then yes. YouTube user Vroom Vroom says, regarding my question about using protected activities to avoid being fired, would you take a case like that if it's clear as day and fair reasons for termination are evident? Any advice to the employer? So listen, no. Like if I think what you're asking me is like, hey, this person is doing shitty things in the workplace and they should rightfully be fired, but they also try to engage in protected activity just to save their own butt. That's not like a great case for me. To my mind, it's not a feel-good case. It's also not a really strong case because this person's doing a lot of bad things. There's a lot of really viable reasons to terminate them. It's not like the employer has to come up with a pretext here. But I will say, listen, if they're engaging in protected activity and the employer's retaliating, I love punitive damages. And if the case is viable, I'm going to bring it. You know, like it's not my job to run around protecting employers. That's for damn sure. It's my job to run around helping plaintiffs. And there's a whole employment defense complex built up to try to oppose me. So they can go ahead and, you know, try to fight me off if it's a legitimate case. But I'm not going to not take a case just because the plaintiff's a little extra savvy, you know? Brianna Smith says, do you think I should settle in Google meeting or let them do the investigation? Brianna, I don't know anything about your case. I'm not going to tell you to settle, not settle. Sounds like you have a good case, though. Certainly. If you come to a settlement number that you can live with, that you're happy with, settlement is a good option. NYC Damages says, I also still have a question about the effect of filing grievance against an attorney who is the administrative law judge and doesn't follow New York rules. Does it help to file grievances with a higher up attorney and government halt anything happening to them? Possibly they need to grievance file. Yeah, if you want to grieve an ALJ, I mean, you certainly can. Yeah, I mean, you can file a grievance against any attorney that you've interacted with in New York State, at least, is my understanding. I mean, grieving an ALJ because you don't like their finding, maybe, yeah. Choose Compassion says, I love the voices, Vince. Thanks. And Steve will forever be the incompetent guy in my head. Steve is the incompetent guy. All right, I'm gonna take a short break. Short break. Wait, hold on. Brandon Smith is saying, can you open Google Meeting for us right now so we can ask you in voice chat one by one? Brianna, I don't know. So LS says, Brianna, that is a crazy request. LOL. Brianna, I don't know how to do that. Is there like a live chat functionality Is that built into the YouTube live option? Like, can I? Okay, I'm looking. So Brianna, I don't think I can open a separate Google voice chat thing because my computer's webcam and microphone are being monopolized by this live stream. I think I would need a separate computer to even do that. And also then I would not have any control over what you say into the live. So like people could troll me hard and like say horrible things because they do sometimes. So if it was built in to the live chat, I'd be inclined to accommodate you, but I don't. It's not. Yeah, LSLS says no, it's not a live option. She wants you to do individual consults on the spot. It's impractical. Yeah, I guess it's probably not going to work if I'm being honest. Okay, short break. All right, we back. Let's go back and find the last question. We're back. A fly in here. Okay. YouTube user Tax Tag says, fired from job in 2015 after arguing with a coworker. One of the supervisors called me the following day and said I was fired. An ex-girlfriend coworker told me recently HR was told I quit. Can I sue? Well, I mean, it's 2015, so it's probably outside of statute of limitations. I don't know if I necessarily hear a claim there. If there was some kind of discrimination or sexual harassment that remains timely, you could potentially bring a claim. Basically, if you have a viable claim, you can bring a claim, but nothing sounds timely that I can think of. YouTube user Lulu says, should I include veal piercing or alter ego claims in my complaint if the LLC and trade name weren't properly filed with the SOS and they use inconsistent names during hiring or save for discovery? I think you can, if you have to, you can amend later if you find things in discovery that say that you're going to need to go that path. YouTube user Kemi says, Vince, what are some of the examples of ridiculous pretext for termination you've dealt with? Like somebody used a coupon that they picked up from the break room. And that was like, you robbed us. Yeah. On your way out of the store, you bought something using a coupon that you picked up in the break room. So you robbed us. It's like, oh my gosh, that like 35-cent savings, huh? Yeah. Okay. Sure. CC says, happy 4th, Vince. Happy 4th, CC. YouTube user me said attorney's office called and said they needed to schedule an urgent meeting and gave me an appointment after 2 weeks. Is it urgent? Should I push for something sooner? I mean, if you're curious, call them up and be like, hey, what was so urgent? You know, they work for you. The Incredible Boom Boom said, choose compassion. Good question. Small firms hiring former clients. I want to be able to help my attorney after we resolve my situation. Very cool. NYC Damages. Any advice for getting witness statements of other employees, current but also former? Especially those who are not around to sign anything. Is an email also a value? Can emails be used by the EEOC? Yeah, listen, emails are valuable evidence, and the EEOC can absolutely use emails. Advice for getting witness statements: be nice, be ingratiating, reach out, try to do as much of the work for them as you can. Make it easy. Make it easy. You always want to make it easy for people to help you. You know, if you're sending them hard copies, send them, postage prepaid envelopes to get everything back to you. Arrange for a notary to come to their office, or accommodate them in some way if you can. All those things. Vince Mary says, what is the difference between good evidence and bad evidence? I mean, that is contextual. And is it illegal to record someone, such as your boss, somewhere out in public like your job? Depends on the jurisdiction. Check the laws of your jurisdiction. Whatever state you're in is going to have a set of laws on recording folks. Good evidence is evidence that strongly makes people believe your version of events and supports you proving the elements of your claim. Bad evidence is evidence that does a poor job of supporting your narrative and proving the elements of your case. And that's why I say it's contextual, right? It depends on the case. YouTube user AR American says, are punitive damages separate from the total value of the case? No. Well, I mean, yeah, so like the value of the case is calculable in terms of the economic and the emotional damages. Punitives go alongside that. How will that be divided ultimately with your attorney? So it should be the same. It depends on how your retainer agreement handles it. So it's different for everybody, but generally punitive damages are subject to the contingent percentage, the same as all other damages in most employment retainer agreements that I've ever seen. NYC Damages says, Pascal Maxinow, if you have a very detailed complaint and they write a detailed position statement response, then the bill can be many hours times the fee, which differs per attorney. Just a quick note there. Most attorneys in this field are not charging hourly. Lisa Maria, 6726, can you ask to see internal investigation findings as part of your demands during mediation? You can ask for preliminary discovery disclosure. They might agree, they might not. If they would come out anyways, if we end up in litigation, yeah, that's the argument. We're going to get it anyways, but they're going to respond, we're not going to give you free discovery early if they think it's going to really help you, right? YouTube user CC says, is it normal for defense to tell you to submit another settlement offer because they didn't like your last one versus providing a counter offer? Yeah, sometimes they do this if they think you're being ridiculous, if I'm being honest. They think you're just way too high, or they're trying to front like they think you're way too high. They'll do stuff like this. It happens. It happens. All right, let's keep going. We got about 23 minutes left. YouTube user LS says, thoughts on the recent Gloria Allred news. She was accused of pressing employment law clients into settlements. Yeah, so let me be upfront. In saying that I can't really speak about this topic in depth. I've never done business with Gloria. Certainly know people who have. Although that's not why I can't speak about this in depth. I'll speak about what's publicly available. So Gloria Allred was the GOAT of our industry for a very long time, and you could argue still is. And that was meaningful because while our industry is male dominated, desperately, horrifically so, in most of the country, the peak of our industry was a woman, and that was something, right? That was better than nothing. These allegations are a real bummer. Now, I'll make Gloria's argument briefly for her, and her response to the original. She had a written statement that she released in response to the original Wall Street Journal article, that I will say read as a little bit unhinged. She made some great arguments in that, which like had real merit. And one of those was, hey, I and my firm won victims of sexual harassment and workplace discrimination $1 billion with a B. That's meaningful. That's a meaningful thing. I don't listen. She may have done bad things. Certainly the evidence, very concerning. She might have said some things that, you could characterize as non-optimal, non-ideal, maybe from a different era, maybe a little venturing into the realm of abusing victims and pushing people to just do what you want because that's how you make money. A lot of the allegations do go that way, but listen, it is still meaningful if you win victims $1 billion. So I'll say that. Don't take her off the Mount Rushmore of employment attorneys quite yet, right? That being said, yeah, listen, the allegations hurts my soul. Hurts my soul, just the public stuff. And listen, her written response, I believe she's a woman in her 80s. I think she's like 84. And it was wild. I think it was like 8 or 9 pages. And a lot of the arguments she made were like, I won a bar association award from the women's group of women's attorney of LA. And it's just like, okay, who cares about that? That's just some people getting together, giving each other awards. Like that's the least meaningful thing in the world. Like it was just not like a well thought out response to the original Wall Street Journal story. I read it and I was like, my sincere come away from that statement was, and, at the risk of being called ageist, maybe Gloria needs to hang up the dueling blades, the plaintiff's attorney dueling blades. No more live duels in the public square with defense counsel for Gloria. If this is how she's operating, this is not a well thought out response, in my opinion. So, don't meet your heroes. Don't meet your heroes. That's what I think about Gloria Allred. YouTube user milkshakes. What is the most memorable case you can share? I don't know. There's been so many. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of times the clients make it memorable, the people you're working with, I don't know if I have a good answer for that one. I think I bummed myself out talking about Gloria. I'm all like, energy was up here, and now it's like, just kind of bummed out. YouTube user Lulu says, drafting a federal complaint. How much information should I include to survive a 12B6? Enough to show plausibility. So you have to plead all your elements. There's no question. Go through your claims, look at the elements of your claims, make sure every single element of your claims is pled. Beyond that, you don't need to go much further. Anonymous says, hi, Vince. How is your new document app coming? When will it be available? So we believe it's going to be available in either August or September of 2025. So it's coming up. It's developing very well. They're working on the Dropbox upload functionality so that you'll be able to take everything you document in the app. Whoa, chat jumped at me. You'll be able to take everything you document in the app, and then you can take it to any law firm you like and upload all your documentation to them. I'm very excited about that. It's going very well. I'm very happy with the team. And they're going to come on again soon to present. We have been doing multiple presentation videos on the channel if you want to check those out. To see how the app is coming. We try to do status updates. We have the devs come on and talk about the app. It's a little over my head. You know, I just pay for these things. YouTube user NYC damages. Thanks, Vince. This was not because I did not like the ALJ finding. Far from it. I'm talking to no due process, ex parte communications, siding with the other party, etc. I have evidence that it sounds like a valuable ethical violation at that point. Atlanta Brandon says, who pays the sanctions on a show cause? The employer or the lawyer? Are you being sanctioned for filing an order to show cause? The lawyer might pay those. In many situations, listen, check the jurisdiction you're in. Different people can be sanctioned, but if the attorney is filing an inappropriate order to show cause and they get sanctioned for it, they're likely paying the sanctions, in my experience. NYC damages. The boss, the attorney commissioner in New York, is in it too. So I have to file both already. I called the New York bar. Would this lead to something? I want them not to work again and hurt others. Listen, if they did really bad things, then yeah, I think it could certainly lead somewhere. Daniel Roche says, given the high percentage of lowball settlements and retaliatory terminations you've discussed on the channel, do you think the EEOC as it is currently structured is designed to be counterproductive? Yes. The EEOC was always meant from its advent to kill claims. It was meant to be difficult for plaintiffs, to have absurdly short statute of limitations, even shorter for federal employees. And it was meant to kill federal claims. And it briefly went through periods where it was activist and it did good things, but generally it's always been underfunded, poorly staffed, with a high variance in the quality of its staff. And the purpose of the EEOC was to keep these claims out of federal court where they are more valuable, in my opinion. YouTube user HR says, hi, how difficult is it to prove retaliation in a hostile environment in California? I mean, I can't speak to the laws of California, but generally retaliation claims are some of the easiest to prove because the burden shifting. And hostile environment, if you have discrimination, it's no harder or easier than the standard discrimination claim. If you're having proximity on events and manager favoring their ethnic employees. Yeah. All right. We have 12 minutes to go. 12 minutes to go. Russell Brand says, Vince, I'm curious in how you tell clients the value of their case. Do you generally know if the case is likely to settle around 50K or is that in that range? They not know the number value of the range. Okay. So during intake, we don't know, right? We don't know how the case is going to go. We don't know when we get into the case what we're going to find necessarily. So we'll often, I mean, I always talk about opening demands, like, hey, based on what I know today, which is limited, we've only done an intake. I haven't gotten into the case. We haven't had discovery. There's a lot of things we don't know yet. And based on what I know today, I would urge you to make a demand of X as your opening demand. They're not just going to give you that money. If you want a settlement, you're going to have to negotiate down. If you want to go to trial, you might be able to win more. That's generally how I talk about it. You can't tell people what they're going to get in settlement, and you can't forecast settlement because you don't really know. And you're just misleading people. And that's kind of unethical because you're getting people excited and they'll do things you want them to do, like sign retainer agreements. They're like, oh, this guy thinks he's going to get me millions, so I'll just go ahead and sign this retainer agreement. And then it's like, you might not. It's kind of a false pretenses thing. And that claim, you're like, I'm going to win you millions. That, you know, how'd you know that? You didn't. So it's kind of iffy to make those promises. I think it's ethically inappropriate. I talk purely in opening demands, and I just make it clear they're not going to just give you that. YouTube user Cushy Kem said, I had a stroke and was immediately fired. I think I already answered this question. Brianna Smith. BMM was answering that. YouTube user Cedric Holding says, here's your flowers, Vince, and sends me 4 roses. Thank you so much, Cedric. That's very kind of you. Daniel Roche. Brianna Smith, I think you're trying to figure out damages on your case. We have a damages calculation playlist that I highly recommend you checking out. That is the best way to figure out the damages on your case. Daniel Roche says, in my case, I was able to prove it in California because my employer literally communicated to me exclusively through writing. So I had a little transcript of everything they said to me. Fantastic. I love that. YouTube user By His Grace. What usually takes place after the judge rules in your favor to not dismiss your case with prejudice? Case goes forward. When do things start kicking into gear? Discovery, yes. Discovery is when things start kicking into gear. Isaac's Trade says, happy 4th of July, my guy Vince. Doing better than you should, I hope. Better than I deserve, that's for sure. Much better than I deserve. Amy says, OSHA, NLRB, EEOC, etc. gave the employers extra attorney time to reply. They always do. But despite knowing when I would be out of the country, that's when they demanded my reply. How to escalate complaint? Don't bother. They don't care. You can ask for an extension, but if you're not represented, it might be tough. YouTube user FF says, what kinds of claims cases will settle for more than their damage calculation, i.e. more than 100 cents on the dollar, and why? So cases where people are worried about, brand issues. They don't want stuff to come out. Also, listen, you'll get a lot of cases where sexual harassment cases where the perpetrator's spouse don't know what they did, and they just want to hide it. So like, okay, how many zeros in the check? Let's just get this done, type of thing. And those can go for premium as well. And always retaliation claims. You can't really include the retaliation, the punitive damages in the calculation of damages because they're so discretionary to the jury or the judge. So often you'll feel like you outkicked your coverage on those because you get much more than what you thought you might win, and they're under the damage calculation. YouTube user FF says, what kinds of claims cases will settle for more than... I just read this one. YouTube user BMM is helping Brianna Smith. YouTube user Turtle Ninjas. Hey, Vince, I've been dealing with bullying since 2018. Bullying is not a claim unless it's motivated by some form of discrimination, retaliation, or sexual harassment. In 2023, I reported to HR. They found 13 of my 16 claims against my bullies to be true. They failed to act or do anything to them. I just filed. Okay. Just remember, bullying in and of itself is not a claim, except in one jurisdiction of the U.S. that I'm aware of. Daniel Roche, during my case, the employer... Turtle Ninjas, check with local counsel about where you are. Know your rights locally. I could be wrong, right? Like, I don't know what jurisdiction you're in. I don't know anything. I can't give you local legal advice. The federal laws do not have any interest in bullying claims. Daniel Roche, during my case, the employer tried to rope me into arbitration where they chose the arbitrator unilaterally without any input from my side. Is that as unethical as I thought it was? If it's in the arbitration agreement, it could be allowed. Eternal Ninja said, a workman's comp case in 2024 and in 2025, I hired a civil case lawyer. My question is it better to go through civil court or workman's comp? Well, those are different claims. The workers' comp case deals with the workplace industry. Your other claims would go through civil court. You can do both. YouTube user LSLS says, I am in California. My employer gave me a form, voluntary waiver of meal period for 6-hour day. I've never seen this before. Thoughts? That would be something for local counsel in California. I don't personally think that's wise for your employer to let you waive your meal break, but yeah, check with local counsel in California. Brianna Smith says, is it hard to win the settlement without a lawyer? Mr. P. White. Yes. Generally, settlements for unrepresented employees, pro se litigants, are harder to come by and far, far lower in value. YouTube user Turtle Ninjas. I have a ton of evidence, including an email I wasn't supposed to be on. In that email, my main manager admits I was a victim of bullying and harassment. So again, I don't check with local counsel about bullying and harassment where you are, but the federal laws, unless there's discrimination, sexual harassment, retaliation of some kind, whistleblowing, something else going on, that is just not a claim. All right. What do we got? What do we got? Okay. Jake Tonkovet says, if local lawyers mostly want to do a quick case flip, national firms are too expensive. Should someone consider pro se? Never consider pro se. Pro se is actively engaging in self-harm. I imagine companies fear the discovery process if I have a decent case. Pro se litigants do not generally do well in the discovery process. It can be a complex, difficult process for pro se litigants to navigate. So your employer will probably be much more confident if you were pro se during that process than if you were represented. Your best bet might be to get one of the quick case flipping firms locally to do a better job for you. And listen, there are 1% of pro se litigants who do a good job. There's some in this channel. There's some on YouTube with channels that do great work. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying 99 times out of 100, it's not going to happen. NYC Damages says, BMM, people on this channel who went through pro se also get settlements or wins in court. Not everyone. Not for most, Vince would say. Yeah, good advice. Iggy Fox says, Attorney White, the NLRB requested a bunch of policies and documents by a certain deadline. It's been about 2 weeks now. My employer and my attorneys never responded. Oh, my employer and their attorneys never responded. How impactful is this for the charging party? I think it's pretty good for you. Yeah. What do we got? Philip Morningwood. Is there an efficient way to search whether someone has used a particular statute against an employer? For example, how do I know whether someone has used 1981? Easy to search statute use. Just look for the prior cases against your employer and then read through them. Go on Pacer, the ECF docket. Choose Compassion, the channel moderator, did a tremendous job pro se, if I recall. Worth noting for those of you currently engaged in a conversation with Choose Compassion about pro se litigation. Turtle Ninjas, it wasn't just bullying, Vince. It was extreme harassment as well. It was based on my race and appearance. Okay, so you got to stop saying bullying if what you're experiencing is racial discrimination, right? Bullying, so you got to get that. Nobody cares about your bullying claim. You are just harming yourself when you say it's a bullying claim. You have a racial discrimination claim. And so every time you talk to an attorney and you open that, you're like, oh, I'm trying to get counsel, this and that. And you're saying it's a bullying claim. They just switch off. They're like, don't care. Not a claim. Value zero. Not just wasting my time. And so you gotta get the lexicon down, the verbiage down, so that you're actually doing yourself a service here. You have a racial discrimination claim. People did bad things to you because of your race and the way you look. That is a claim. That is a valuable claim. That is a claim that attorneys want to hear about. They want to engage with. They want to talk to you about. It's a claim that your employer should be afraid of. Potentially, it's a viable claim. Investigators are going to hear bullying and they're just like, nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Just like, okay, bullying, get it out of here, right? You got to change how you're talking about that claim. BMM says, sir, where's your damages calculator? What is the web address? Sorry. We do not make ours available. Ours is a proprietary process, largely built on a variety of Excel spreadsheets, very complicated, and we have no interest in making it publicly available. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. It took us a lot of time and a lot of money to build, and we're very happy with it, but it's not something we can make publicly available. I apologize, BMM. Cedric Holding says, what if my employer was vague on the incidents that happened at work? What should I do if everything wasn't mentioned to employment? Can I use this in the EEOC? Yeah, you can use the transcript from an unemployment hearing as evidence in the EEOC, or even the exhibits if they help you prove the claims you're making. All right, 1 minute to go. Picking the last question. JN Tramero 723. Excuse me. Oh, I lost my question. Oh, here we go. Failure to promote. What happens if you offered the same position at a different employer where you get to federal court? Does that help or hurt your case? Hurts your damages. So your economic damages will stop growing when you mitigate, which means take comparable employment. Congratulations on the job. But yeah, it just means your economic damages will stop growing. Anonymous, why wouldn't bullying be considered a hostile work environment claim? So hostile work environment claims, most people don't understand, actually require a component of discrimination to be viable. Bullying does not require a component of discrimination. Bullying based on a protected class is discrimination. So you wouldn't call it bullying, you would call it discrimination. Bullying in and of itself just means pushing somebody around. The other way to call that is managing. In the eyes of the federal laws, bullying is just managing. It's telling people what to do and punishing them if they don't do it. That is generally not a claim in 49 out of 50 states in the United States. Check with local counsel, always. Bullying is, and we have videos on the channel about why bullying is not a claim. And many states have tried to pass anti-bullying statutes. And here's the reality. Really tough to do because, again, where do you draw the line between bullying and managing? It's tough. All right. I think we are done for the day. Everybody, we have 53 concurrents. We have 66 likes. Thank you so much. You were all wonderful, as always. I hope you're having a great July 4th. We went 2 hours today. Pretty good. I love talking to y'all. I do. And yeah. This is really great. Back and forth. I got nothing left to say. We had some kind words. We had some people. We had somebody report a $3 million win in this chat today. That's amazing. Oh, we got a question. This one hurts my soul. YouTube user Plato says, my young employment attorney just dropped my case after one mediation session where she refused to ask for a little more money and refused to remove one-sided confidentiality clauses. Yeah, that bums me out. I hate to hear that. That bums me out. Listen, I mean, I don't know what passed between you two. I don't know if she outkicked your coverage and she got you more in settlement than you could hope to win, and that's why she dropped you. I don't know, but I hate to hear that story. Brianna Smith, as we part, says next time you should try Google Meeting. Brianna, if they roll out that functionality in the live stream where I can have you all appear as like little video heads talking, then I will roll that out. I am not going to be using like third-party software for that functionality. I just don't really have the time to devote to figuring that out. Yeah. All right. Oh, last one. Incredible Movement says, my questions today were for my girlfriend. Oh, so your girlfriend's dealing with bad situation, who just experienced discrimination. Without your and other Island resources with my own claim about my employer, I wouldn't have been able to help her. Listen, I'm glad the resources help. Brandon Smith, when is the next live? I don't know. I do lives when I have time. We are very extraordinarily busy this year at the firm, and it's good. It's fantastic. I love it. I love onboarding new attorneys and, acquiring other firms. But that is all, incredibly time consuming on my end. Cause quality control is like one of my main hats that I wear at this firm, is making sure that we're maintaining quality the way that we want to in representation and in the service we provide. So that, as we bring people aboard, that process of sifting through what's going on and making sure that everybody's operating and litigating the way we want is incredibly time consuming. And I owe our clients a fiduciary duty. So I spend my time making sure the quality control is good first. And then where I have time, I do work on the channel. Obviously, I love talking with you all, but got to prioritize. All right, everybody. Have a great holiday. Have a great weekend. Take care. Share the channel. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps our channel to grow. Helps us to help more people just like you. Take care.